All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good news stuff for you today. And still up in the hotel till Saturday or so, something like that. Up in Seattle, checking it out, driving around, doing a whole bunch of stuff. My day is just filled with all kinds of busyness, but that's fine. Having a good time regardless. So the first article I would like to talk about today is Bitcoin will end up in one of three ways, predicts expert. And not only an expert predicting this, but an expert with a big glowing white ball, in case you're watching the screen, because I know some people like to watch this or rather just listen to it in their car and things like that, and that's okay too. But just imagine a man in a suit holding two hands around a big glowing white ball, like a big glowing white ball of power. And that's what kind of expert we're talking about here. So three possible future scenarios for Bitcoin. Smith's first scenario sees Bitcoin replacing fiat currencies all over the world. In this construct, Bitcoin becomes the de facto payment means for all types of transactions, like mortgage payments, import duties, etc. Notable techpreneurs like Jack Dorsey as well as Steve Wozniak of Apple believe that Bitcoin will become the single global currency within the next decade. However, if it doesn't increase its technology, which I assume it will, considering that a decade is quite a long time in terms of the world of technology, it would be more like nano or something like that, being the world cryptocurrency. So the second path has Bitcoin becoming the new gold. In this scenario, Bitcoin doesn't replace fiat except in failed economies like present-day Venezuela. Instead, it becomes a highly valuable commodity that investors can use to hedge against stock market crashes. So the final forecast for Bitcoin is that its value plummets dramatically, becoming worthless in the process. Consequently, the popular cryptocurrency is abandoned to the junkyard of failed digital revolutions, which is certainly a possibility. Now, I think blockchain is definitely here to stay. It has quite a bit of uses, but Bitcoin does not necessarily have to stay. There are so many other currencies coming out, and sooner or later, maybe a better one will come along. Bitcoin is the brand name of cryptocurrency right now, and I assume that is why. Well, of course, it was first as well, and I assume that is why it's essentially, in a number of ways, the best currency at the moment, or at least the most popular, depending on how you want to look at it. But either way, depending on how you look at it, right now, Bitcoin is indeed pretty much objectively the brand name of crypto. So, I'm not sure if it can be used against, stock market crashes necessarily, because if the stock market crashes and people lose money, then people are going to be selling off their Bitcoin, and it doesn't necessarily hold its value in the same way that gold does. But that is a possible second scenario. So Smith believes that the second scenario is the path of least resistance for the digital currency. While his analysis is compelling, to say the least, there are some flaws in the logic behind the choice. For one, Smith only uses two parameters, Bitcoin to US dollar exchange and the US dollar inflation rate, as the basis for the analysis. And then the third one is that Bitcoin will die out at $43. Now, that's an extremely specific number. Not everyone is so optimistic about the future of Bitcoin. However, the chief security scientist at Thycotic, Joseph Carson, believes that the Bitcoin death scenario is the most likely of the trio. And, I'm not sure which one is the most likely of the trio, but, I'm actually not going to rule out the death of Bitcoin. As much as I like Bitcoin, like I said, it does not have to necessarily be the coin of the future. There are so many other coins out there, most of them admittedly kind of useless at this point or dead, but sooner or later technology does move ahead, and now that cryptocurrency is so popular, it is moving at triple speed. It's double timing, if you will. So for a while there, Bitcoin was kind of the only currency, and then it was kind of Bitcoin and Ethereum and a few others, Monero and such, and now it's just piling more and more and more at us, and sooner or later one of them is gonna get it right in terms of their marketing, in terms of the technology, in terms of its speed, in terms of its transactions, in terms of its proof of work or proof of stake or this, that, or the other thing. Sooner or later, one of them's gonna get it right. It's essentially like throwing something at the wall, and one of these days, something is going to stick to the wall, and that's going to be the winner. So the most likely scenario is that Bitcoin will die. My current valuation of Bitcoin is approximately US $43, as opposed to the hyped in manipulated valuation. Unless Bitcoin is able to become more efficient at mining and more stable overall, it is likely to die. These higher mining costs and the fact that more retailers are failing to accept Bitcoin as payment, as they are unable to convert it as it's too expensive, will mean the end of it. So I can't disagree with that quote there. I do kind of disagree with $43. That seems really arbitrary. Bitcoin 27.57. That seems pretty arbitrary, but I suppose it's as a valid price for the death of Bitcoin as any. But I do agree with the fact that it does need to be a bit more efficient at mining. Now, right now, the algorithm with so many miners in the world, it does use a lot of electricity. It does cost a lot of money, but that increases its security even more than most other coins in terms of 51% attacks, even though Bitmain is getting pretty close to 51%. Would Bitmain do an attack like that? I guess I can't really say. But we're at 17 million some Bitcoin at the moment. And so that means that in 10 years, we have produced, just about, we'll call it 10 years. So in about 10 years, we have produced 17 million Bitcoin, and there's only going to be 21 million. So that means that there's only 4 million to go, and it's supposed to take till 2140 to get those coins. And so that means we're going to have to add more and more and more hardware. And sooner or later, we're going to have to get more efficient and more efficient and more efficient and more power and stacking more and more of them. I just can't say more and more enough. Sooner or later, a warehouse is simply not going to be enough ASICs to even create a Bitcoin. And it's going to take a whole warehouse of warehouses. That's right, one big gigantic warehouse that houses warehouses inside of that. I know that's an extremely inefficient method to put warehouses inside of warehouses, but the big warehouse keeps all the little warehouses safe. But you see where I'm going with this is that if we've created 17 million in 10 years, and it's supposed to take another 120 years or so to get all the rest of the 4 million Bitcoins, the power that it's going to be needed sooner or later here is going to be tremendous. I've read some articles that the power of Bitcoin is approximately that of Ireland. And then I read some articles that that's sort of a little bit false, and that it's maybe like you have to take away a Malta-sized portion of electricity away from that, and then you have it. But that just goes to show that Bitcoin takes as much as basically an entire country's electricity at the moment just to make Bitcoin, which is pretty crazy to say the least. And that's in 10 years. So imagine 10 years from now. How is that? Is it going to be 4 countries, 5 countries? Because you got to remember that the difficulty will increase even more. So we'll move on from that article. So that's 3 reasonable, predictions for Bitcoin. So then the next one is that Robinhood responds to investor demand for Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin. So happy day for the users of Robinhood app. So the US-based stock and crypto trading app Robinhood announced on Thursday that it had added support for Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin in response to growing investor interest in the altcoins. The additions come after Robinhood began offering commission-free trading of Bitcoin and Ethereum, even though they're going to hold some of your Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's how they get away with commission-free. So basically, you can't trade all of your Ethereum or Bitcoin because it's commission free, even though you can go to Coinbase Pro and just trade limit trades for totally free, and they're not going to hold into any of your coin, even though they kind of report to the government everything you do. So I don't know, Robinhood probably does too. But quote here, since we launched Robinhood Crypto in February, our customers have voiced interest in buying and selling other cryptocurrencies beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum. Robinhood said in a blog post that adding it, that it plans to further expand its coin offering. So sooner or later, it's going to be even more. So Bitcoin Cash currently ranks as the fourth, with a market cap of 11.7 billion. Since the start of the year, Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin have lost 72% and 64% of their value, respectively. The decline reflects the downward trend in the entire crypto market, so whose capitalization has fallen 60% since January, following the peak times of December 2017. So I'm not going to read the rest of the article there. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you use the app, or you are interested in the app, or maybe you were not interested in using the app because you wanted to trade Bcash or Litecoin and you couldn't, but now you can. So I don't know if it's out exactly right now. It does say that it added support on Thursday, that it said they announced it on Thursday that they added support, but I don't know if it's actually out now. If you have the app, you can confirm in the comments down below if you would like. But if it's not out now, it's going to be out pretty soon, I would suspect. So next article here, Monero mining malware. Again, that Monero mining malware. It's just all over the place, looming in the corners of your computer. Infects League of Legends Philippines players. So players of League of Legends in the Philippines apparently have become the latest unsuspecting victims of a malicious software that turns their gadgets into an unwilling cryptocurrency miner, particularly for Monero, because it's good to mine with your CPU. It's not too bad, and it's somewhat profitable. And pretty good idea on whoever made this malware to put on League of Legends computers, because likely they're gaming computers. I would suspect that they are, and likely have pretty good processors in them. So even more dollar bills of Monero, even though it doesn't make sense, dollar bills of Monero. You get what I'm saying, though. Several media reported that a Filipino Reddit user with the nickname of Lester Gonzaga, that sounds really Spanish, has discovered that clients of the Garena server of the popular internet game have been used to mine Monero. Monero currency, without even noticing. It has the process works silently in the background. Connected to CoinHive.com, a cryptocurrency mining program. So the Daily Sports reported that Lester Gonzaga has informed fans of his discovery by writing on the official League of Legends subreddit. So he says his post quickly gained the attention of fans and generated more than 12,000 upvotes, with a majority of the players blaming Garena for allowing the malware. So some of the users were quick to suggest that not only League of Legends players, but all Garena Plus clients were affected by the malware. Garena immediately took to remove the unauthorized program from its system. So they quote, there was an unauthorized modification of the League of Legends PH client lobby where a certain JavaScript code was inserted. Oh, you think? Garena said in the Facebook post, this code performs blockchain mining on affected computers, which consumes CPU resources from these computers. Apart from increased CPU usage, extensive analysis from our security engineers has determined there is no other impact on affected computers. So they also say that we are treating this as a serious issue with the highest priority. So they found that roughly 5% of all Monero cryptocurrency in circulation has been mined through hacking. So congratulations, Monero, for creating a very, very simple cryptocurrency to be mined on CPUs, although you can mine it with GPUs as well, and it's typically better to do that. But, most computers, I would imagine, in the world do not have GPUs and are just simple computers that you would buy from wherever with just a simple processor that's still capable of mining Monero at some degree. And if you infect enough of them, then you get quite the income from all of those computers, such as 1 million that occurs all the time in China. So the next article here is Bitmain's mining monopoly continues with new Antminer Z9 release. So I didn't make a video specifically. I probably would have made a video specifically on the Antminer Z9, which I usually always do when a new ASIC comes about, or at least some, popular ASIC or an important ASIC, if you will, and not just new models of whatever. But since I'm up in Seattle, it's a little difficult for me to make videos, whenever I want. So I apologize for that, but if you don't know about the new Antminer Z9, and this is not because there was the Z9 Mini, which had 10,000 Sol hash rate, but now there is the new Antminer Z9 without the Mini on it. So pre-orders for the Antminer Z9 went live 2 days ago, superseding the Antminer Z9 Mini, which caused a huge uproar from GPU miners when it came out. It certainly did. The larger Z9 is priced at $3,319 with an estimated shipping date around early September 2018. So that means that Bitmain has probably been mining on these while their Antminer Z9 minis were out, and they're testing, I can't do it hard enough, testing the Z9s. They need to test 20,000 of them to make sure that they work properly, and test 29,000 of them for 6 months to make sure they work properly. See, I just can't do it hard enough. Are you guys getting my drift here? The latest model has been marketed as Bitmain's most powerful and efficient ASIC miner to date, boasting a whopping 40,800 sols plus or minus 5% hash rate, while only consuming 1,150 watts of power plus or minus 10% of power. So you've tested these for so long, but it just might be minus 10% or less. Who knows? We just can't get, if you're off by 10%, let me just say that you're off by quite a lot. So 5%, that's okay, because sometimes chips are bad and it might not be hashing just as much as you said it would, but 10%, come on, let's get real. As a comparison, that is the equivalent hash rate of over 65 NVIDIA GTX 1080 Ti's put together. So let's just do the math on that. Actually, let's not, because I don't feel like it, and I don't want to have to whip out my super envious Microsoft Super Ultra Scientific Calculator. But you could just basically multiply 65 times $700 or $800, and it's going to be way, way more than just $3,319 plus whatever shipping. And for some power supply, you can just get a 1,300 watt power supply or something like that and hook this up. So not too big of a deal. So Bitmain has already been in the news lately over fears that it could potentially control over 51% of Bitcoin with its Ant pool and BTC.com mining pools accounting for over 40%. So a dreaded 51% of attack is a stuff of nightmare for crypto miners, and particularly Bitcoin. That could be really bad. So there's been a lot of efforts to avoid those threats. So proof of stake and other consensus mechanisms are proving to be increasingly popular among newly created cryptocurrencies as they move away from proof of work protocols. And also a lot of developers are starting to try and juke ASICs. Bitcoin Gold did it. All they have to do is just do a slight tweak to their algorithm, and just like Monero went to Monero V or Kryptonite V7, which is just slightly different than just Kryptonite. We may see this with Zcash, we may see this with Zclassic or something like that, but Bitcoin Gold already did it. So let me just go to a mining calculator here. I already got it set up. I don't have the power, the wattage. I could put it to 1100 and 1150 watts. But whatever. So we're not really looking at the after your power cost, because your power will vary, of course. In Arizona in the summer, when I'm in Phoenix, I'll pay like 13 cents a kilowatt. And mind you, if you use a certain amount of electricity in a month's time, particularly in the United States, I don't know about other countries, or depending on where you live, it might be just totally different. But with my electric company, I pay 13 cents a kilowatt in the summer, and it will, if I use a certain amount of electricity in that month's period, it will actually cost me 14 or 15 cents, depending on how much I use per kilowatt. So it will go up if you go over a certain limit, which is what most utilities are. Even water utilities are like that as well. In the winter, when nobody is using their AC and things like that in Arizona, it's actually much cheaper, and it's only about 10 cents. And I think sometimes it dips down to like 8.5 cents in the real winter, and I believe in December and January. So it depends on where you're at. But I put in 40,800, and that gets you about $60.87 a day. So it's actually extremely efficient, this miner. But what you got to remember is that you won't get this miner till September, and by the time you do, all the Z9 minis are going to be pumping away. The Silicon Zcash miner, which does 50,000 souls, is going to be mining away. People are going to be getting these in the mail, the Silicon and the minis, well before you get this one. And that hash rate is going to go way up. And you are not going to get $60.87. It's just not going to happen. Now, if prices of cryptocurrency go dramatically high, of course that number is going to possibly go higher depending on difficulty and price and such. But likely, it's not going to be $60.87 by the time you get this in September. And mind you, if you don't get the first batch, you're probably not going to get the second batch till November or December. And then the prices are going to be even lower because people are going to be popping their Ethernet cords into this ASIC, and again, it's going to increase the difficulty. So that's the problem with ASICs. They really centralize the mining. It's really easy to do an attack with them, or even going on NiceHash and just with a whole bunch of money and buying it. But ASICs are they really centralize the mining. Takes it away from all of the regular people with GPUs, so they're just not that great, but they do make you money, but just know that it's not going to make you what you see now. So looking at CoinMarketCap here, we're at 248 billion market cap. I checked this earlier today, and I think we were at 241. So we did go up a little bit. You can see a slight increase in most currencies here. This little dongle, this little dingle dangle coming up there. So people are rebuying at the bottom again, and sooner or later here, we're likely to see another whale purchase. And when it goes back up to 6,800 or something like that, everybody's going to sell again, and it's going to go back to 6,200. At least I hope not, but that's just the way it's been going for many months now. We are actually relatively stable. I know that's pretty crazy to think about, that we got to 20,000, now we're 6,000. You would think quite the opposite. But for several months now, we've been at about $6,000, anywhere from $6,000 to just about $7,000. So that's actually relatively stable for Bitcoin to remain in that little stagnant area for so long. So what everybody's doing is just waiting for the bottom. As you can see, everybody's buying it now that it's $6,200. And once it goes up $300, $400, $500, people are going to sell again, and it's going to repeat like that for a while until confidence comes back in, until we get a huge wave of new buyers, until the hype comes back and starts bringing up these prices. But mind you, and always remember that the prices don't have to be $20,000. They don't even have to be $6,200. The price of Bitcoin could be $1,000 if electricity costs allowed for that, but likely not anymore because of the difficulty. But it doesn't have to be any particular price. You can still make money day trading or just trading in general, even just randomly every few days, trading Bitcoin even at these low prices, because you can just hop in at 6,200, sell at 6,700. And I really hate to almost advocate that, just like selling at 6,700, but everybody else is doing it, and what everybody else is doing is not always the right choice, but to make money, it's kind of what you have to do at the moment with Bitcoin, because holding on to it for a long time is essentially not making you any money at the moment. Instead, you can be just selling, buying, selling, buying. But that is all up to you and how you like to do things. But I hope you guys enjoyed this particular episode. That is all I have for you guys today. And as usual, I will see you guys next time.